Hi, I'm Evelyn. This is Ideas in Practice with Evelyn. Reaching episode 10 feels meaningful in a different way. When I first started this project, the intention was very simple. I was only trying to record dreams and observe what I could remember over time. At the beginning, I did not expect this process to continue for so long, and I did not expect it to slowly evolve into a larger, reflective inquiry about awareness, thinking, and cognition. But over time, something started to become more noticeable. It was not only the dream themselves, it was the pattern across them. Across the previous episodes, different observations slowly started to emerge. There were moments where awareness became unstable, thinking changed across different conditions, environment affected attention and continuity. Thoughts became harder to assess once they enter language, and processing itself seems to continue across shifting states of awareness. At first, this experience felt separate, but over time, they started feeling connected, not as isolated events, but recurring patterns. One of the biggest changes in this inquiry was recognizing that thinking did not always behave in the same way. Some experience felt structured, stable, and easy to follow. Others felt fragmented, overloaded, interrupted, or difficult to assess afterward. There were also moments where awareness was present without control, thinking continued without stable clarity, or the boundary between dreaming and waking became uncertain. And over time, these recurring conditions started forming recognizable patterns. As the observation continued, I began informally organizing some of this recurring experience into different modes or conditions, not as fixed categories and not as scientific conclusions, but as a way of describing how thinking appears to behave across changing situations. Some experience involved structured thinking, stable awareness, continuity, and organization. Other involved fragmentation, environmental overload, interrupted reflection, unstable awareness, replay, and ongoing processing. All thoughts that became difficult to hold on once articulate. And what became increasingly noticeable was that these conditions were not completely separate from one another. Thinking seems to shift between them depending on environment, fatigue, stress, interruption, attention, and changing cognitive conditions. This process gradually changed how I think about cognition itself. We often imagine thinking as something stable and consistent, as if awareness, reflection, and reasoning always operate in the same way. But this observation suggested something more dynamic. Thinking may not always occur in one stable state. Instead, cognition may continuously adapt across changing environment, unstable awareness, interruption, transition, and varying levels of accessibility. And perhaps understanding thinking requires paying attention not only to ideas themselves, but also to the conditions surrounding how those ideas form. Over time, this inquiry also shifted beyond dreams themselves. The focus slowly became less about dream content and more about awareness, reflection, accessibility, learning, cognition, and how thinking behaves across changing conditions. Because many of these experiences also appear in everyday life. There are moments where attention becomes fragmented, awareness feels uncertain, thought disappears during explanation, or the mind continues processing even when we are trying to rest. and recognizing those patterns may help us better understanding how thinking actually works in practice. This project began as a simple observation process, but over time it became something larger, an ongoing reflective inquiry into awareness, cognition, and the changing conditions surrounding thought itself. What started as a personal experience gradually evolved into a deeper exploration of how thinking behaves across different stages, environments, and conditions. Over the past few months, I have continued recording this experience and observing how patterns slowly emerged over time. And while those patterns are becoming more noticeable, I still feel that this inquiry is continuing to evolve. One thing has become increasingly clear. Thinking is not fixed. Awareness is not fixed. And reflection itself may continue changing across different situations, environments, and states of experience. Season 1 does not conclude this inquiry. If anything, it marks the beginning of the larger exploration. In Season 2, I hope to continue examine these recurring patterns more closely and to explore what they may reveal about awareness, reflection, cognition, and how thinking changes across different conditions. As this inquiry has continued to evolve, it has also begun extending beyond the podcast itself. I'm pleased to share that the paper, Learning Across Stages of Awareness, Reflective Inquiry, and Educational Leadership, developed from this ongoing inquiry, has been accepted for a presentation at the Center for Leadership and Diversity, CLD, 7th Annual International Conference at the OISE, Ontario Institution for Study in Education, University of Toronto, this October. It is very encouraging to see an inquiry that begin with simple daily observation, continue to grow through observation papers, creative companions practice, public scholarships, and now conference presentation. I look forward to share this work, learning from the conversation that emerge, and continue to develop the inquiry in the months ahead. Thank you for listening to Season 1 of Ideas in Practice with Evelyn. And thank you for continue to observe, reflect, and explore this inquiry with me. Thank you.